Hey, welcome to You Might Have Missed It. I'm Adam.
And I'm Nathan.
And this week we're going to continue our discussion last week. And I mean, last week's show was amazing. Can you believe how good it was?
Yeah, it was so awesome the Amazon server wouldn't take it.
It was. That's what's so amazing to me. And the fact that we got such great guest stars on really makes me disappointed that no one was able to hear it.
Right?
I mean, we had, Ben Brode from Hearthstone on. We had Barack Obama stop in. It was so weird. It was the strangest thing because he stopped in at our house.
What he was doing in Montana, I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows, and why he came to visit me. I'm like, Mr. President, I don't have words right now, but sure, you can come on and talk about your love of classic arcade games. And he was like, well, thanks, Adam. I feel good. And I can't do an impression of Barack Obama. But yeah, it was so amazing. And then when we both got unicorns and were able to fly off into the sky, into the land of bacon and free-to-play forever games, I was like, this is the best day ever. And then I woke up and realized we didn't record an episode last week. So, dear listener, we love you.
Thank you.
Sometimes we fuck up. Anyway. Move on.
Hearthstone.
I hear there's news. Like news things, because we talked about it the week before last on the last show, is that they were getting ready for a big announcement on the 22nd, which is when we're recording right now. And they were not kidding. This is a pretty big announcement. I didn't expect them to be like, we're going to have a huge announcement and then announce, hey, we're introducing more card backs. We got everyone together to tell you 3 new card backs.
More card backs.
Yeah. Because as much as I love card backs, if they like called the media together and then were like, here's a whole crap ton of stuff that you can put on cosmetics, I would have just been like,
fuck
no.
you guys.
No.
How dare you?
How dare you, sirs and madams? Ugh. And then walked off. But no, they have introduced and announced a new expansion to the game. And not like an adventure-sized expansion. So we're not talking like 20 or 30 cards or something like that.
A lot.
Like 135.
Like, yeah. Like a brand, like huge
Goblins
expansion.
versus Gnomes sized here. Classic sized here. So this is going to be big. And it is, so I'm just going to get the press release details out of the way. This is slated to come out next month. And it is themed around the Argent tournament from WoW. It's called the Grand Tournament. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's 132 new cards. My bad, not 135.
Right.
So for those of you waiting for those 3 extra cards,
you're going to be waiting a while.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath.
But you will get a new card back.
But you will get a new card back if you pre-order.
Right.
But the pre-order is actually pretty cool. So pre-order is, I believe, $49.99.
$49.99.
50 grand. Starts next week for 50 grand tournament card packs and a new card back, which, by the way, is really hard to say together. Card packs and card back. Just say that like 3 times fast. It's like toy boat, which I almost messed up there. So
toy boat.
Anyway. So grand tournament. So what's really cool about this, and there's like a new board and, other stuff like that, which is, pretty cool. I love playing around with the boards.
Yeah, the new board.
I'm looking at some of the toys on it, or some of the things I think are toys, and I'm like, am I going to be able to shoot arrows into that target?
I know, right? Yeah.
Is the training dummy going to spin? So just to give you, I'll just describe the board since I've already started. So there's 4 corners to the board, which there always are. And one corner, the bottom right corner, is a training dummy and a target, an arrow target. On the bottom left, it looks like kind of like a little kiosk type area.
Is that a blacksmith area?
Maybe. Let me see if I can get a bigger picture.
Looks like an
No, it's pies. It's
it's pies?
Yeah, there's pies. And then up in the top left corner, it looks like it's either like target dummies or some sort of like puppet show with target dummies. So you have the the card target dummy picture up there and Orc and a Knight.
Yeah, you have the like waving target dummy.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if you could like break those, maybe.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. And then up in the top right corner, you have like the Knight's tent or something like that. You know, where you would expect like the competitors are staying for the grand tournament.
Isn't that the Allies tent from the Argent tournament?
I think it's actually the Argent's tent.
Is it the Argent tent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been there in a month.
Yeah.
Or two. So I can't say for sure, but my memory, like the thing that's like going off in my head is like, that's the neutral tent. That's where the Argent NPCs are. So yeah, it's a really cool board, and I keep looking at it and I'm like, what am I going to do?
What
can I steal a pie? Can I steal a pie every time the board comes up? Because I want that. Yeah. I want to steal pie from this
I want some
board.
of that meat off the fire.
There you go. I bet it's cardboard and juicy.
Ooh, I bet you we can turn the little...
Oh yeah, I mean,
turn
that's
it on
an
a
obvious,
spit.
yeah. Looking at that, it's like, yes.
Yes.
I am going to turn this spit.
I am going to turn that meat.
And suddenly we had to add a R rating to this podcast. No, anyway, board aside, the announcement included a few cards, and there was actually an exhibition game that got played as well, which looked really cool. I haven't had a chance to watch the exhibition game all the way through yet, but there are some new cards that have been revealed and are very exciting, including some new, actually, mechanics coming out. So in the Argent tournament, there are two really big mechanics that are making their kind of debut. The first is that, and they're actually all kind of themed around this, but hero power matters for the Argent
tournament.
I know.
How cool is that?
That is so cool because
like the hero power actually doing something.
Well, okay, to be fair, the hero power has always done something.
Yes, it's always done something, but now it's going to be doing something and some other things.
Well, suddenly it actually like synergizes with specific cards. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, well, I can use my hero power to, you know, activate this minion's enrage or something like that. This is a keyword, the first keyword and the first new keyword that they've actually added, I believe, to the game is inspire. And what inspire is whenever you use your hero power, this effect happens. So the card they kind of revealed as the flag bearer, and, you know, it's an appropriate card to be a flag bearer because it's the lowly squire. And it has inspire, it's a 1 for a 1/2, which you look at and you're like, yay, that's really bad. Why would I ever want that? But it has inspire, so whenever you use your hero power, gain +1 attack. And that is super cool. Because I can just see how this plays out, which is turn 1, you play the lowly squire. Turn 2, use the hero power, and you've got a 2/2 for basically 1 and, you know, a minor thing. That also happens along the way. Or, you know, you get it out and you protect it somehow, and then it just slowly builds attack power and builds attack power. So there's some cool things with this particular card. I don't know if this card is going to be game breaking, and I suspect it won't. But it's still a pretty cool card to see. The other one that they revealed is a legendary card that has the inspire keyword. And this one is the Nexus Champion Sarad. And I think this is a new character for Hearthstone. Like, I don't recognize the name at all. But this one is 5 for a 4/5. So as of in the test, it's like, not really super great. So I think you're rarely going to be playing this on 5, but it's got inspire, add a random spell to your hand. And if you played the Nefarian challenge during the brawl, that is pretty freaking awesome. So every time you use your hero power, you add a random spell to your hand. And that is super powerful. Or super weak, depending obviously on the spell you get. But, and it's a neutral champion, so anyone can use it. And, so you get your, you know, your hero power effect, plus you get a card, basically, which is, I think, pretty cool. And I think that one's going to see some play in a lot of decks. But then it's not just inspire that's coming in here that makes your hero power matter. They've actually got other cards. So if you're familiar with kind of the giants in Hearthstone, giants have effects that reduce their costs. They tend to start at like 10 or 20 or something like that.
Some ridiculous amount.
Yeah, a ridiculous amount of mana. But they have things that reduce their costs for do this, reduce the cost of the card. So, like, I've been playing a lot of Handlock lately, which means that I've got Molten Giants and Mountain Giants in my deck. And Molten Giants, they cost 20, but for every point of damage you've taken, they cost 1 less. So when you get around 10 health, they're 0 cost. With the Mountain Giant, they start at 10, but for every card in your hand, they cost 1 less. So with a full hand, they cost 3, for example. And they're all 8/8s and just big, meaty presence on the board. The Frost Giants care about your hero power. So each time you use your hero power in a game, they cost 1 less.
Could you imagine that being in a hunter deck?
That's pretty impressive. But my mind, because again, I went through all the hero powers in my head and I'm like, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of, and suddenly I kind of stopped when I got to Handlock and I'm like, oh fuck.
Right, because you've got a card draw that you're doing anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You know, your first 3 turns are just spent hitting that card draw button, to be quite frank. You know, unless you're obviously doing something else. But for the most part, when you're playing the deck right, your first 3 turns are, you do nothing. You pass a turn, hero power, and then you play out your Mountain Giant or you play out your Drake or something like that. And I was thinking like the Frost Giant in hand, that's like, oh my God, this just synergizes so well with an already synergy heavy deck. So this is, you know, you're afraid of these 4 8/8s that just live in the Warlock deck. Now there's another one, another set of them to be afraid of.
Yeah, so there's 6. 6
Yeah,
8/8s that you're like, fuck my life. All the giants, my friend. Yeah. All the giants.
Just slamming your head into a table over and over and over again. Imagine a boot slamming into your face over and over again. This is the future of Handlock. But obviously this isn't the only thing. There's another one that 6-cost dragon that for 6/6 that you can use your hero power and any number of times during a turn. So you're not limited. So, you know, that can be pretty cool. There's Maiden of the Lake, which is a 2/6 per 4, but your hero power costs 1 when she's in play.
Now imagine the combination between those two.
Yeah. Or all 3 or everything. So you've got, you know, you've got the Maiden of the Lake down on like turn 5 and suddenly you've got a 2/6 and you've got a hero power that turn. Cool. You drew a card. You made a guy. You shot a firebolt. You slammed into their face for 2. You healed something. Healed your own face for 2. And then you drop down Nexus Champion Sarad on turn 6. And suddenly you've got a 4/5, a 2/6, and you're drawing a card from that 1 mana. And then you've used your hero power twice. And you've probably used it before this point. So all of a sudden Frost Giant comes down.
Frost Giant.
Or Caldera Drake comes down on turn 8.
And you just like draw cards.
And your opponent just, you know, is like, I concede.
Yeah. It's like,
and you play a lowly squire just for Robins.
Exactly.
And kill them with that. But kind of get to the point across and, you know, going through the cards, there's obviously some really cool synergies from the stuff that Blizzard revealed over the course of their announcement. And, you know, they did a good job. They got me super excited for this set because my deck building brain is just going crazy right now. It's like, where do these cards fit? And then, you know, there's more cards coming. A lot more cards coming.
Right. Oh yeah, we've seen all of what, like 15 cards?
I think so, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah. 15 cards. And what's really exciting about that is, they did, again, I mentioned they did an exhibition match and some new cards came out during that as well. And there's actually some really cool stuff coming out of that. So there's like a mage card that causes your hero power to deal 1 extra damage. So suddenly it's, you know, 2 for 2. Basically it's a hunter power you can aim. And then what's really cool is actually
Ball of spiders.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I just imagine playing that card, and then I will just your opponent just running around the room going, get him off me, get him off me. Why is this happening? This is the worst thing ever.
I just want to throw that out just to be like, ball of web spinners. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, web spinners are that thing dies, I get random thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So 3/1/1 web spinners.
It's slightly overcosted because 3/1/1 web spinners would be it's basically double costed.
Right.
So it's neat, but I'm actually looking at it and I'm kind of like, I don't think I would play that.
Oh no, I played it to be an asshole.
Oh no,
like,
totally. I played in like kitchen
thing.
table decks. Totally. That
right. Exactly.
And totems. So that's actually super exciting. Shaman in the meta has been in a weird place for the past couple expansions. It's not a very strong deck, and it's gone to win a couple, like, it's been in lineups that have won like tournaments. You'll see it on like every place on the ladder, but there's really like one shaman deck that anyone plays, because there's just not really a lot of great shaman cards.
Yeah, so and it's not my Death Rattle shaman deck.
No, and it's mech shaman, but but they don't work well together in any way. And even mech shaman isn't really great because of shaman. It's really great because of mech with a couple shaman upsides that play well. But what they've done with this expansion, because again, hero power matters. And what is a shaman hero power?
Totems.
Definitely totems. And they are making totems matter in this set.
Making totems awesome.
So I'm going to start with like the first thing, which is totems are now a tribe. They've actually always been a tribe. But this time they're actually getting some reinforcements. So there's a card called a Totem Golem that is 2 for a 3/4, which you look at and you're like, okay, that's awesome. Like, I would play that in any deck every day of the week. It's got Overload 1, so it's actually 3 for a 3/4, which is a good cost, quite frankly.
Still decent, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would pay for that in every deck anyway. You look at priest decks, you look at, it's awesome. I love that card. And you get to play it a turn earlier than you otherwise would. But it's a totem. It's a 3/4 totem. How cool is that? Yes. And then you've got some other cards that affect totems. So there's the Thunder Buff Valiant, which is 5 for 3/6. Great.
Yeah.
But it's got Inspire. So again, when you use your hero power, you give your totems +2 attack.
And so when you summon a totem, give it +2 attack.
I don't know how that order works.
Yeah,
that's
that'd be interesting to see the order.
I'll have to take a look. But yeah, you summon, and it's a permanent +2 attack to the totems that are on the board. It's not until end of turn. It's not this turn. It's not until the start of your next turn. It's just +2 attack. So that, that set of totems that you've just had sitting on your board, suddenly turn 7, they're actual minions and your opponent is shitting themselves.
Combine that with a Maiden of the Lake and a...
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Oh, God. What else? A Maiden of the Lake and the Caldera Drake.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're just crapping totems.
And they're big.
And they're huge at that point. And then your opponent, plays a Flame Strike and you're sad. But that's
sad. But then you summon more totems.
Exactly. And your Valiant survived because it's got 6 health and you only dealt 4. So. Right. But then they've also got stuff like the Draenei Totem Carver, which gain +1/+1 for each friendly totem when it comes into play. So it's 4 for a 4/4, which is pretty vanilla, but that's fine. Actually, like, I would play that blank. But when it's gaining +1/+1 for each totem, if your first couple turns have just been totem, then you've suddenly got a 6/6 on the board for 4 on turn 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy cow, my opponent has to deal with this.
Or you might even have like the Totem Golem already out and then...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then throw out on the next turn after your Draenor Totem Carver, you get your Thunder Bluff Valiant out and then more totems.
Well, I've just imagined like my turn plays here. So
I know.
Turn 1, coin, hero power. Okay, awesome, totem. Turn 2, Totem Golem. Cool. It overloads me for 1. I've got 2 mana next turn. Hero power. I've got 3 totems on the board. Turn 4, Totem Carver. 7/7. Deal with it.
Yeah, 7/7, along with the 3/4 and totems.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a 4/4, and then the turn after that, you're summoning more totem. You're bringing out a Thunderbluff Valiant, and then summoning more totems,
Mm-hmm.
and giving all of your totems +2 attack.
And there's even like token strategies that are coming out with this for like everyone, because there's a card called and we're just kind of going through the cards now and just talking about them, but I think these are so cool. Is Kodo Rider, which has 6 for 3/5, and its Inspire ability is summon a 3/5 War Kodo. So you get this 3/5 out, and then you are just making more 3/5s off of it. It is a 3/5 machine.
It's
so cool.
That's kind of like what I was going for on my Death Rattle thing with what's his name, the legendary that summons himself.
Exactly. Well, and we've actually seen a lot of really cool token decks, and they're called token decks because they in Magic the Gathering, when you have a card that summons a 1/1 creature token or something like that, right. It's not an actual card, and it has different rules. And in Hearthstone, that's not actually true. Everything is technically a card, right. But because of that terminology carrying over, token strategy. But you just summon a board full of 3/5s using your hero power. And your opponent is just kind of sitting there staring back at your board and going, that is a lot of 3/5s. And 5 is a notoriously toughness to deal with.
Right.
For pretty much every single class. Because there's just not a lot of 5 damage spells. There's some good 6 ones. Fireball comes to mind. But, you deal with the penultimate board clear is Flame Strike. That is when somebody says, I need to clear a board, you're like, hey, have you tried Flame Strike? That's, 4 points of cleansing damage across the board. These are all 3/5s.
Oh, I found a 16th card. The Brazilian stream found a rogue card.
Ooh.
It's a Poisoned Blade. Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Your hero power gives this weapon +1 attack instead of replacing it.
Oh, nice. That is so cool.
Yes.
I'm kind of excited by that. That's actually really neat.
I know, right?
Man.
Looking
through
all
there's some really cool ideas in here.
Yeah.
I think this one, we are actually going to see some just new deck archetypes coming out almost across the board, even given this small sampling of cards that we have.
Right. Just for everything that you can do now with hero powers.
Yeah, exactly.
For Christ's sake.
Making those matter so much, My brain is, Warlock is awesome. Paladin, I'm getting 1/1s and doing other things. Yes. Mage, I am pinging and doing other things. Okay. And, we've seen totem synergies actually coming to the fore now. And, I love shaman, but I can't play them because it's my spike brain, which is the brain that just wants to win all the time, is you could play shaman, or you could play a deck that wins.
Ouch.
More consistently. And it's you're right, brain. I could. And I don't want to subject myself to this unless I absolutely have to for a daily quest. But, the totem synergies, I'm yes, this could definitely work. And they're not slow is the other part of it. And that's another thing that Shaman has suffered from, is that generally their deck synergies are very slow to come together.
Right.
This one actually feels good.
Right, because we just talked this through, and you've got a pretty loaded board by turn 5.
Yeah, exactly. It obviously depends on a really good draw. But...
Right, but still.
But still.
Still, yeah. It's still you get, if you ever get that draw, it's hell yeah. Otherwise, you still end up, you're still toteming for the first couple turns. If you draw out the totem carver, you're toteming out to get ready for the carver.
Exactly.
Or the...
And, the thing is, I think it'll also change the way people play against this type of deck. Because if the totem carver is coming out, you kind of want to clear out the totems as they come out. Mm-hmm. That's generally normal, good play. But it adds just this entirely new imperative.
Exactly. It's suddenly the totems become more of a threat than they were before.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are other cards that are going to have these types of totem synergies. There's one that has a battle cry, summon any random totem. And that's a lot of totems now because you've got card drawing, you've got healing totems, you've got, your regular, your 4 hero powers.
Wait, any random totem. So it could actually randomly summon out a totem golem.
Exactly. And it wouldn't overload you because, you didn't play it. So
that'd be nuts.
Suddenly it's 3/4 for... It's a 3/2 plus a 3/4 for 3. And I would just be sitting there going, yes.
I'd be like, okay, concede now.
Unless of course, like there's a bigger totem. There's like a massive like 7/7 totem or something.
There's an 8/8 totem giant.
Totem elemental. That's just a 7/8 totem taunt or something like that. And I would just be like, concede.
Yeah, exactly.
My entire strategy revolves around the Tuskar totemic rolling really well.
Exactly.
It's a horrible strategy, but it's there.
Throwing out something massive on turn 3.
You can't deal with this. And in good news for pirate fans, pirate synergies are coming too. They're actually saying, the other thing they're going to do with this, and I think this is what we're going to see, as more things get revealed, is that there's actually a lot of tribal synergies coming in for stuff that hasn't really had tribal synergies in the past. So like dragons got a huge boost this last expansion, but pirates have always kind of fallen by the wayside for like fun decks and stuff like that. And I actually expect that that's going to be pretty true going forward too. But pirates are getting synergy. Ogres are becoming a tribe apparently and getting synergies. Totems, stuff like that. And who knows what else is actually going to be, getting named as a tribe and coming in with more synergies.
A little more beast synergy, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Considering
maybe,
the ball.
yeah.
Well, with the ball of spiders.
Yeah, it adds to our existing beast synergy for sure.
Right, it adds to the existing beast synergy. But I mean, that just from what it's looking like, I mean, you could easily build off that because that's what the web spinner does, right? 1/1 beast summons gives you a random beast when it dies,
which is definitely hit or miss, but definitely fun.
Right,
as we found out in the brawl with the web spinners.
The web spinner brawl, yes.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's Hearthstone. That's kind of Hearthstone news that's coming out next month. I would definitely recommend pre-ordering. I mean, that is my current goal. Pre-order. One of my 2 free-to-play goals in this next couple of weeks. Pre-order the expansion.
Are you kidding? The days are counting down on that other one, dude.
I know, literally. But we'll talk about that in the next segment, and we'll be right back. Do you want to make more gil? Sure, we all do. At the Final Fantasy International Correspondence School, millions of Humes have been able to learn new skills in some of the following job classes: airship maintenance, paladining, monkeying, lancering, chocobo racing, black magic, white magic, red magic, blue magic, green magic, spear management, gunnering, dark knighting, mystic knighting, geomancy, alchemy, dancing, barding, thieving, TV VCR repair, and more. Call our toll-free number today to find out more information for enrolling in FFCS and earn more gil today. Operators are on duty now, so don't delay. Hey, welcome back. We just talked about the new Hearthstone expansion, and I am still excited about that. I would spend the next hour talking about this and all of its implications. But I also have another thing that has taken over my life. And Nate, you are directly to blame for this from our last show, is you talked about Summoner's War. And I was kind of like, oh, free-to-play game, sure. Whatever.
Free-to-play phone game.
Free-to-play phone game. And I'm like, sure, whatever. I played a couple of those. They're fine. You seemed pretty excited about it. So I downloaded it. And I started playing. And oh my God, I am
and
lost.
haven't stopped since.
I have not literally. Like it's bad enough that I started basing my sleep schedule around energy gains and events within the game. I'm not even kidding. I have a calendar of the events on the front of my phone. That is how addicted to this game I am within a week's time. So we talked about it the week before last on our last episode. And coming into this week, I am so utterly fascinated and addicted to this game. For both of us, it has kind of hit this classic point inside of us that is like, this is a game that we love. It has all of the mechanics that we want to see. But here's the kicker, is it's free to play. And free to play, and we talked a little bit about this, but I don't think I truly kind of understood the game enough to offer an opinion on it. Free to play has some really hefty connotations with both of us, which is we are very nervous going into any free to play game. I am nervous because it always usually means some sort of compromise within quality. And there are definitely some of these here. This is not a perfect game by any means. But I do believe that it is a game that is doing free to play in a good way. There's some downsides, and we'll get to those later. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what I like about it from a free to play perspective. And the first one is that they make onboarding really easy. They have done an incredibly good job of making the opening of the game a great hook to grab you in and keep you playing, even without necessarily making you pay money to do it. At no point in the game have I felt obligated to pay money and to play. Like, they offer enough stuff. They offer enough of even like the premium currency that I feel like I'm actually in a pretty okay spot, despite having never bought anything.
Even the energy gain is like, even without like the bonus energy, the energy gain is satisfactory for just a straight free to play kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. By the time that I get done with the energy and, you know, the number of turns that I've played, I actually feel like I've had a good play session. Like, there's times definitely where I want to play more. And that time would be always.
I know that one TV show will get me another round in the hall.
There you go. So we've got this time down. Like, we've got different timing mechanisms, I believe, but we both have our little tricks to know when it's time to pick it up again. But, you know, I always actually do feel pretty satisfied after I finish up. There's, you know, satisfied but not done, because there's a difference there. And I'm satisfied with my turn. I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like, you know, things have gotten done. I've gone down a little checklist that I've made in my head of these are the things I want to do to improve the way my game state, to improve my monsters, to improve the number of mats that I've got for something in there. So it's good, but I always feel like there's more to do. And we're both still relatively early in the game, to be perfectly honest. I think we're both approaching the mid game, which is where the slog can start happening. And I can feel that slog coming on. Like, I know it's there and it's staring me in the face at this point, but I'm not afraid of it because of the way that energy gains work, the amount of energy I have, and the progress that I feel like I can realistically make. So that's the other thing about this game, that at least so far, and we have not gotten to the end game of the game yet, but the fact that I'm even considering the end game at this point, I think is a great point on it, is that the progression feels very natural. So when you start out, it's very rapid. You're getting in energy very quickly. You're getting resources very quickly, but not so quickly that you feel overwhelmed by everything. And just as kind of like a quick starter guide for somebody, if you want to pick the game up and just get started with it, honestly, go through the tutorial and just play for like a day or two and don't look anything up. Don't go too crazy with research or anything. Figure out if this is a game that you're going to want to play just for the gameplay itself. And then you can do what I did and go completely crazy on research. After
How many hours on Reddit?
After the first 2 days and for that week, because we talked kind of midweek before that, and we just didn't get the show put together. But we talked midweek, and I mentioned that I had spent like 3 hours on Reddit for this game, and you were like, what?
Yeah.
And I was quick to point out, like, 3 hours over this last week.
Yeah. See,
on Reddit. But
yeah, truthfully, I mean, I have done, even to this point, have done no research on the game. Except for what Adam has sent me.
I'm like sending links over, like, oh, this is really cool. Check this out. You know, look at this. Hey, here's a calendar for all of the events happening in the game. Make this your phone's homepage.
Right.
It's my phone's homepage.
I didn't do that.
Okay.
It's a bookmark in Google. I will say, in Chrome. I will say that.
There you go.
That's open a lot of the time.
Basically, I have like my production schedule for various projects that I'm working on, and then this game, and they kind of line up next to each other, and they've started to kind of work around each other a little bit. But, you know, there's all of this stuff that's going on. So, but again, I recommend playing the game first, figuring out if you like it, and then maybe spending some time researching, because I do think that part of my enjoyment has been that as I get closer to the mid game, the options are starting to widen a lot. And what I want to do is very different from what I can think around for the most part without a little bit of extra help. So I definitely think that's out there, but you can play it both ways, because Nate has just been doing the straight experimentation thing. And as far as I can tell, he is enjoying it just as much.
Enjoying the fuck out of it, yes.
Yeah. But back to the free-to-play aspects. Again, they've got a great onboarding process. They've got a great kind of difficulty curve, at least up to the point where I am going into the mid-game, where you, again, don't feel overwhelmed. You feel like you can have a plan, and your play sessions feel like they matter each time that you finish up. The other really cool thing is you don't necessarily feel obligated to pay money into the game. And every single instance where I have looked at something and like, I want to buy that, I do it not because I'm like, I want to buy that because I feel like I'm never going to get anything done unless I do. I look at it like, I want to buy that because it's going to help me play and because it's going to support the people who made this game.
It is really kind of like a that internet meme, Fry, take my money.
Yeah. We've just, that's Nate. But no, it's a good game. And again, I don't feel like you're at any point obligated to pay money. But I do have to warn you, you will probably feel like doing it. Because it's just like, this will increase my fun by doing this. Not so much, this will decrease the amount of time I spend doing things, because it won't.
No. If anything, it will increase the amount of time you spend
Exactly.
doing things.
It will widen your options, and suddenly you'll go, I have so much more to do now.
Yeah, if I'm not at work, I'm playing this game.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes while I am at work, I'm playing this game.
I wish.
There are some negative points to this particular game in the free-to-play sense.
Yeah.
I know, I've just spent some time talking about it in glowing terms. There is actually, I think, you could very easily hit a frustration wall with this game very quickly, because there is a lot of grinding. This game is built around grinding. And that's why the free-to-play model on it works. When I say that there's a checklist in my head, that checklist is like, run a bunch of dungeons and farm them. Yeah.
Farm this.
Farm that. Farm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's like, on any given day, there's like 5 different places that I could go farm, and all of them are equally good choices.
Yeah.
Which is good because it adds some variety to what you're doing. Like if you don't feel like doing this on that day, or you don't think it's going to be quite as important, you have other things you can do and other ways that you can, improve your characters. And I think that actually does continue into the high end of the game, just based on, again, the research that I've done on Reddit and stuff like that, is looking at what people are doing. It's not the same thing. It's actually about 4 or 5 things that you can do with your end game. So there's that. That's really cool. But it is grindy, and it is super grindy. So if you're not into that style of game, or you think that that's going to be a huge frustration point, do yourself a favor, maybe pick it up, play through the first couple levels, kind of get a, oh, this is fun, this is cool, I've had this experience, let's move on. And, do yourself a favor and play through that, because I think it's a great opportunity to see what they do. But don't throw yourself into that wall without knowing that that wall is there. Do not be a crash test dummy, basically. Live your life. Live your life to the fullest. Go out, play in the sun, whatever you do. And it's not for like us, but I'm sure other people do that. But no, it's a good game in that way, but that is a dark point on it. The other kind of negative that I can see with this game is that the company itself is not what I would call by any means a like independent developer or something like that. It's definitely a developer that is throwing out clones of games.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, like, that's fine. I am not going to begrudge anyone the way that they make their money. And the fact is that they have come up with a game that I find incredibly addicting and a lot of fun. But they've literally just shotgun a whole bunch of different game styles with the same core background pay mechanics, but with slightly different actual play mechanics. So they've actually got like real-time-ish action-adventure type games. They've got, different art style type games, different storyline type games, but they all boil down to basically a card collecting, mix and match, grindy type of game with that paper, rock, scissors style of combat functionality.
Right.
Sort of going on. So when you pick up this game and we talk about like you feel good about spending money, at no point do I feel like I am supporting a really great developer by doing this. But I do feel like I'm supporting an effort that is good and that this is the type of game that I would like to see more of. Not just from them, but maybe from other companies or something like that. But this is an example of a shotgun game done well. But it is a negative point in my mind that is kind of how they arrived at this. But I hope the team that's working on it, and I hope it is like one team within a larger group that is kind of working on this specific game. I hope that, like the number of people that they get playing and maybe the revenue will allow them to keep expanding on it and, keep making this particular game really awesome and maybe make them rock stars in their company or something like that. So, again, really good game, but I think there are some downsides to the free to play side. So, but you have actually made that jump.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about your experience as somebody who...
So I have thrown money at the game. Truthfully, yeah. And Adam is jealous of my monster collection.
I am now. Actually, yes. I will admit that is like part of what I've looked at. I'm looking at his stuff and I'm like, he's got cooler stuff than I do. I want that stuff. But don't worry, I still like you guys. And then I half-heartedly pet my monsters while staring at his.
I look at, but see, and that's the thing, like with the progression of everything, Adam's actually progressed further than I have.
Once again, proving that time does equal money. Just unfortunately, maybe not as directly a correlation as we would want in this case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you even got a 5-star, and I don't.
Yep. I said, grinding.
Right. Yeah, it is very grindy. I will say that. But I mean, that's the thing. You throw money at it, and granted, that gets you maybe that's it, is I'm trying to recover from the handicap that I have. As someone who's spent money on it, it's like you get a few perks. Don't get me wrong. There's some perks. It's nice. But it is definitely more of a time thing. It's a time saver. I'm not paying money and winning the game by any means. Mm-hmm. It's not the pay to win thing. It's the pay to save time. And, I get more mystical scrolls.
Right.
Which are the ones, which, do stuff.
So kind of quick breakdown, just, because we threw some jargon in there. There are 2 types of scrolls and different levels of monsters between 1 and 5 and 6. And certain scrolls can summon 1 to 3. Other scrolls can summon 3 to 5. Obviously weighting more towards the lower end of those ranges. Anyway, go ahead.
With the purchases that I have made, I've been able to get more mystical scrolls, hence more monsters, hence better monsters, and I hate to say it, but more grindy.
Yeah.
It's like I almost envy Adam for the control that he has over the characters that he has, because he has a few of the ones that he can focus on, whereas I'm kind of having to spread it out and not being able to focus in on where I would like to. But I'm able to form teams and it has that roundabout mechanics. That's my favorite thing to do, is to form a specific team to fight up against these mechanics. Like what they'll do is they'll do halls, which are the dungeons, and they usually have a specific alignment between that water, air, and fire we were mentioning earlier. And I will form power teams to go into those. And part of the thing that I actually enjoy about that they have done to kind of counter the grind is an auto mode.
Yeah.
And that's nice because you can literally just tap to enter the dungeon and then hit auto and they're off.
Yeah.
And they just go through the dungeon by themselves. Again, you have to be confident that your team will make it all the way through the dungeon on auto. Otherwise, you don't want to do that because obviously they will all die and you will lose some of your precious energy, generally 5 points of it, which takes about 25 minutes to get. Yeah, exactly. That's a half an hour wasted. Literally.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we mentioned the auto mode and when I first saw the auto mode, I was a little bit like, actually, I'm not sure I like this. I'm not sure I like that the game will play itself for you. But as I got past probably like the first hour or two, once I got used to the point where it's like, oh, I understand how these monsters work. I've played around with the abilities. The AI is dumb as a rock.
Oh my God. The number of times I've seen them cast an AoE on one thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're like watching and be like, no, don't use the other thing. And then it's like,
why did you use the high power ability on something that's almost dead?
Exactly. It's like one hit of anything will kill it. And it's like, I'm going to use my 7-turn cooldown on this guy.
Exactly.
And you're like, facepalm. You've still got 3 more rounds to go.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
The boss is next.
The boss is next.
You could have really used that.
So the AI is dumb as a rock, which is, I'm not sure if that's an intentional decision. I hope it is. It seems like it because you hit that auto button and unless you completely overpower the area you're in, you're probably better off controlling them yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can play with synergies. The AI can't and won't. There's certain things they'll do, but they'll, generally always use this attack or that attack or something like that. And to be honest, I think the enemies that you're facing against have that same AI.
Yeah.
Which can cut down on the challenge a little bit. They make up for it by making the enemies you face much harder or having very specific and limited synergies, that actually make it a challenge to get through. Like you were talking about, Paying has gotten you the ability to you've got a stronger range of monsters, I think, compared to me. Like you have specific teams built for specific places. Mm-hmm. I don't. I kind of have the same team that I have to use in almost all of the areas. And a lot of times that's actually a detriment to me because I only have X number of high powered monsters. And if I go into an area, it's like, I have to have this guy. He is glass in this place and he's not going to do a lot, but he's got a very specific ability that I need that I can't replicate on something else. And, that's been problematic for me, progressing a little bit, but, that is something you get. And I think that's actually, I wanted to kind of comment is that the way you were describing kind of paying launches you, I think, further into the game than playing for free. So you've hit the mid-level much earlier than I have within the game.
Oh, you mean grinding up the 4 stars to...
Yeah. Grinding up 4 to 5 and then eventually, getting 5s to 6 or something like that will be, kind of the ultimate grind within the game and opening up better and better monsters type of thing and figuring out what to do with them. You hit that point earlier when you pay and that's fine. That's totally cool. I think that actually can add to the fun a little bit as well. You can look back at the older monsters and be like, could this be useful in my composition? And a lot of times the answer is no. Whereas I'm kind of look at the monsters, I'm like, this has to be useful in my composition. I have no other choice.
How many Garudas can I have?
Exactly. The answer, all of them.
All the Garudas.
All of them
if you guys
everywhere.
don't know, the Garuda is actually just this little bird thing. It's literally this bird, and I have named his because the way the general thing that you go into, you actually have like this island in the sky garden where all your monsters are. I have nicknamed his the Aviary because it is.
I have a lot of them, and the reason is
There is
because
a
they
reason,
all
exactly.
eventually going to be fed to one of them.
Yeah, he has a very good reason for having all of them. It's
I
just
I
really
just
funny.
have to put this reason into action,
Soon.
and eventually there will just be one very big one.
So many birds.
So many birds.
birds.
And this game gets disturbing. Like, you can't overthink the implications because otherwise you end up at this point, which is I am raising an island of birds specifically so that one of them can cannibalize all of the others to become more powerful. And it's like some sort of like weird game of Highlander, but instead of like tests of skill, it's just me shoving them down each other's throats until I've created the most powerful thing.
5 at a time.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I'm going to lovingly care for you and raise for you and level you up and then feed you to this guy.
Yeah, and then figure out which one of you needs to be
So-
the most powerful.
So really the question is, who is the true monster in this game?
I know. If you just think about it, because okay.
I've already done it with hellhounds. So.
Yeah, I saw that. Just a little detail. Basically, when we're talking about feeding, what you can do is you can actually power up your monsters, which if you have like the little shit 1 or 2 stars, if they have the silver stars where you can't do basically diddly dipshit with them.
Yeah, basically you're trash monsters.
Yeah, the trash monsters.
And you'll get a lot of them.
A lot. That's that shit scroll I was talking about, the unknown scroll earlier. That's basically your shit monster scroll. But what you do is you can actually feed them. We call it feeding. They call it powering up just because they didn't want to call it feeding them.
There's some unfortunate implications, but we call it that, and as far as I can tell, everyone else does too.
Yes.
Like, from all of my research and stuff like that, everyone calls it feeding monsters.
Yeah, basically what you do is you sacrifice these monsters in order for this other monster to either gain XP or power up their abilities or what have you. And yeah, literally that is what he's preparing to do and what he has apparently already done with Hellhounds. So yeah, he literally fed a dog a bunch of dogs.
Yeah, that dog has been fed at least 6 other dogs at this point.
Yeah, one of the things is we keep saying feed, and I find this incredibly disturbing because on a daily basis, with the number of unknown scrolls that you get just from all the farming and stuff that you do, I probably feed 20 to 30 monsters to another monster, to, miscellaneous monsters over the course of the day. That is my primary way of leveling beginner monsters.
So my super disturbing headcanon for this is you have the circle, which is, it's the power up circle, but it's actually the sacrifice circle.
Pretty
in my
much.
mind. But there's this bright flash of light, and then the monster levels up. In my disturbing headcanon, that bright flash of light is the only memory you are allowed to have of the carnage that ensues in this circle. Is what actually happens is just like this blood-drenched fest of flesh and bone and jelly and whatever else being torn and ripped apart. And your mind being the fragile thing that it is, all that you have is this flash of light. And then your little island
These
janitors
cute little
come in and
monsters that
clean
I
up.
cared for that are
And you just have the
utterly
monster
butchered.
left over and you're like, oh, good, you're more powerful now. And you pat it gently on the head and push it back out on the island. And your monsters fight, not because you have some sort of mystical power, but because it's all they know. And somehow they think that if they fight, they will live. But they
won't
don't
get
know your
fed
dark
to each
plans.
other.
Yeah. If I become stronger, perhaps I will survive the summoning circle.
Oh my god.
And the answer is
Okay.
no. No, you will not.
Okay, your disturbing headcanon is disturbing as fuck. And literally I never even thought about that white light being like this, big old sensor bar.
Yeah.
It's like,
all you remember,
flashy, white light, and then, hey, I'm stronger.
It's basically your mental BSOD.
It's like, I cannot handle that which I just witnessed. Mental block.
Well, it's why everyone in this world is just insane. Is because all of these summoners that you meet are kind of crazy in their own ways. And that's why, is because you're just subjected to constant mental trauma in this profession. And the only way you can deal with it is blanking it out and developing crazy quirks, like trying to destroy the world, stuff like that. So. This game just took on a whole new dark meaning.
I don't know if I can play it anymore. Oh my god! And well, I don't know. I'll probably be able to play it.
You're playing it right now, aren't you?
No, I'm out of energy. I was playing it earlier. Well, I was playing it while you were explaining. In fact, literally, I was powering up a dude as you were explaining that thing, and I was like, "Damn!"
And you're staring at it. I'm like, "I'm so sorry."
Oh my god!
Oh god, I'm so sorry. I don't know
that cute little pixie.
Anyway, with that mental image, I think this is a good enough time to wrap up the show. So, as always, you can talk to us over on Twitter at YMHMI, on Facebook at facebook.com/YMHMI. Go ahead and give us a like over there. You can listen to the podcast, because obviously you are, at YMHMI.com. You can use the feed to get it delivered directly to your pod listening device thingamabobber. I hear they call them, like, phones. The same, basically what I'm saying is you can download it.
The thing that we're using to mutilate monsters.
Exactly, where we have a factory of mutilation set up for our monsters. You can also watch the podcast over on YouTube. And if you're watching there, awesome. Leave us a little comment below, or a comment on the website, or give us a like.
Staring at a title card listening.
Exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I hope you're doing something else while you're listening. Because if you're staring at that title card for an hour, you are probably discovering like deep, dark, fundamental design meanings within it that I had no intention.
Yeah, do not run this tape backwards.
Yeah, no, don't run it backwards, because there are no subliminal messages.
The brutality is right out front.
Yeah, we are right up front with the darkness here. It's right there on the label. But hopefully we'll see you next week if you're not so mentally scarred from this week. So thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. I love Hearthstone. Yes. Really, truly. I play Hearthstone while I play Summoner's War.
How?
Well, I'm not playing. I have Hearthstone on the computer and Summoner's War on the phone.
Oh my god.
So I've got Hearthstone over here, and I'm like, playing a game. And then on the phone, I'm just, tapping Summoner's War. I missed a turn once because of Summoner's War.
Did you really?
Yeah. Just missed an entire turn. Like, I was managing something on it, because I was my opponent's turn. I didn't care what they were doing. And then I looked up and the rope was like almost at the end. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then boom. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Still won that game.
Nice. 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 Nice.